Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Haas, and I have with me Perrin as usual. Perrin, how you doing?
Pretty good. How's it going?
Yeah, today's going to be a really good podcast. I'm excited to have our guest with us today because he's somebody that has been out building an authority site for about a year and a half now, and he's willing to actually share the URL with us, and so we can dive in and learn some lessons, things that he's learned to make his site a success. And so we're going to dive into that in a little bit, get his background so you know his story, but first let's welcome him onto the podcast. I have Gael Breton of authorityhacker.com with us. Gael, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want me to just introduce myself?
Yeah, please give us a little background about who you are and specifically just as an entrepreneur, how'd that occur?
Actually, that just was accidental. So I just had a job in London that wasn't paying very much in a digital agency. And my partner and I had ideas to promote that agency, but they would not listen to me. I asked them for $500 a month or something for marketing, and they would not give it to me. But that agency had an affiliate program. So my current partner and I were like, let's just start a website and start selling these agencies' services. This way there's kind of like no conflict of interest. If it works out, we invested our own money, we make some money, but they will also make money. So I don't feel like it's too bad for my job or something. And so we started doing that. And after, I think 2 months, we already had 6 full-time clients for our white label. And my agency was not really listening to me, still didn't want to really do what I wanted to do in terms of work and so on. And so we just decided to take these 6 clients and leave and just do what we thought was right or should have been done for that company. And we just started our own agency. That was in 2011. Back in the day when Gray Hat SEO was, it was the honeymoon period, let's just say that. And that was very, very easy to rank websites. On Google, you just needed usually article networks, and these things were really powerful back then. And so we were able to take clients and rank them within, I'd say, a week or two for all their main keywords. And they were making a lot of money, and there was a lot of word of mouth for how fast we were able to rank them. And so at some point, around the middle of 2012, we reached actually 100 recurring clients with that agency model. So that was a lot of people, reached a lot of staff as well, and so on. And I was really good at Gray Hat SEO back then. It's I was also not good at all at converting that traffic, and so I was just good at ranking stuff. And so it's not like I made a lot of money back then, but I was able to get clients the results that made them happy. Mm-hmm. And to give you an example, at some point I used to rank number 1 for NASCAR above NASCAR.com and ESPN during the NASCAR season.
Wow.
So I've been able to do some crazy stuff, but as I said, I wasn't very good at converting it. Anyway, 2012 comes by and Google Penguin comes around the corner, mm-hmm. and everything falls apart. I think over a period of 6 months, we lost half of our clients. So that was 50 clients in 6 months. So that you're talking losing a client every 2 or 3 days, right?
Ouch. Yeah.
So that was very difficult. And so we started refocusing the agency, actually. We didn't give up on the business model, but we actually decided that these things were probably going to happen again, and that, we were lucky when we got started that this was pretty easy, but Google seemed to be pretty determined. Panda had come around not long before the first Panda. And so we were like, okay, well, that's probably going to happen again. And all these, easy press button software probably not going to be around forever. And it was really hurting to lose 50 clients in 2 or 3 months. That was really, I was like, I would never want to live that again. And so we decided that we want to learn how to do it the right way. And so that was at the first Penguin update that we were like, okay, we want to learn full white hat SEO, but at the same time we want to keep our, gray hatter minds with like the systematized, building systems for everything. And so that's how we started doing what we're doing now for clients. So we focused on a lot fewer clients, but much more spending per client. So we actually managed to still grow the staff and so on. At some point we reached actually 30 staff, I think, in Budapest. So that was getting there actually. But we actually, from all these learnings, we also decided to start, creating some sites of our own on the side that allowed us to learn a little bit. And that was beginning of 2013. And that's when we started the site that I talk a lot about on Authority Hacker called helpambition.com. Mm-hmm. And we just literally, it was just a side project. I think I just assigned an employee to just do some keyword research and post some articles. And I was like, oh, let's just not do any link building, and we'll figure out how we promote that. And we were just posting every day. Yep. And that was how we started our first authority site. Back when we were like still really strong into client services and so on. We still do offer some of them, but we have a much smaller team and much smaller amount of clients right now. But yeah, that's how we started. And then that site for the first 6 months was not impressive at all. Like, I think after 6 months and posting every day, we had like 200 hits a day or something, which is not a lot after something like 150 articles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was really low. But at the same time, we had done no link building at all, nothing.
Okay. Let's, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump in, and we're going to definitely talk a ton about healthambition.com here on the podcast. But basically, just to recap, and it's a somewhat familiar story for anybody that was building sites prior to and during Penguin, basically, prior to 2011, such as I was out building lots of niche sites, and you could rank sites fairly easy if you did your keyword research and, use some tactics to build links like you mentioned. But it really is interesting. I think probably for people that are just getting into SEO and haven't lived through that history of Penguin and Panda, things really have shifted so much. And it was kind of gradual at first. Even when Penguin first hit, you're like, obviously something happened. But it's now that it's been a couple of years, you can see the drastic change from where we used to be 4 or 5 years ago to where we are today. It really just is so much different. And so I actually find it fascinating that you grew your agency so large, and but still were able to maintain as you shifted over to more white hat strategies. And so, to clarify, you still said that you do have a few clients. Are you taking on any new clients, or just maintaining what you currently have?
It's like they really have to have the perfect set of conditions for us to take them on. It's like we're not really trying to grow that business a lot. We're maintaining it, and we have a plan to maintain it because we have people that like their jobs. Mm-hmm. And we plan on maintaining that, but we're very picky on who we work with these days. Mm-hmm. Just because the nature of everything we do has changed a lot. And if the business model doesn't align with the way we do things and so on, it's not going to be very successful, and nobody's going to be happy.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, in this world of white hat SEO, and considering this major shift of your business, what are those conditions that clients have to meet to, be able to work with you?
Okay, that's interesting. So the first thing I would say is having a proper technology setup on their website. So, we all use WordPress here, I'm sure, but that's not the case of everyone. And many people that get sold by, web designers that want to keep getting hired every time there's a change to be done on the website and make the website very complicated, come with horrible technology stacks, which prevent us from doing any changes on the website and so on. So it's impossible to add a piece of content, format it, and so on. So we first screen for technology stacks. Mm-hmm. And, we love WordPress here. So that's, we're not really asking for a lot. But then the next thing is really is there any kind of community and stuff that we can leverage and do all that content stuff we're really specializing in right now to help them out? So that if you're for example, manufacturing pipes it's going to be very difficult to find forums of people talking about, that kind of stuff and so on.
Right.
And so we need to be in the right niche as well, where we can do all that content stuff and everything we focus on and so on. I'm not saying you can't do wet hat SEO for, very industrial things, but it's not necessarily what we focus on. And they just need to be also willing to wait the time it takes, because when you do stuff the way, it takes a lot more time, as I'm sure we're going to talk about later.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we will, definitely. And so you already kind of let the cat out of the bag for your example site. Healthambition.com is the authority site that you started building about a year and a half ago or so. You said initially as an experiment, and it's certainly grown now. Can you give us an idea of the type of success that you're having with that site, if you're willing to share any revenue numbers or anything else that you can give us for that site?
Okay, so the site is getting close to 300,000 visits per month now.
Nice.
And it's generating around 6,000 emails per month as well. 6 to 8,000, it changes a lot. Revenue is actually okay. It's like in the 5 figures per month, low 5 figures though, because mostly we've been focusing on growth since we started that website, and now we're just sitting on the pile of traffic, and we're like, wow, there's so many ways we can optimize that, because we were focused on growing that traffic and getting some traction. But like for example, we're not using things like native ads and things like Outbrain or Taboola or something like that, which would probably bring us, several $1,000s a month and so on. So right now it's in the low 5 figures, but we're sitting on a lot of opportunities, and we're also launching our own products soon. So.
Okay, awesome. So it's doing quite well. So you're making over $10,000 a month from the site. It's getting roughly 10,000 plus visitors a day, approximately. So a good high traffic site there. And I'm looking at the site now, and you're currently monetizing with Google Adsense. Is that the primary method at this point? You mentioned products. Are you selling any products now, or what's the other monetization strategy there?
Okay, there's several. I mean, we have AdSense. We also sell a couple of like tiny ad space on buy-sell ads. And the reason we're monetizing with these right now is because we've been focusing on growth, and we didn't focus at all on monetizing to start with. Yep. It was just like, if there's no traffic, we can't make money out of it. And so there's many articles where we should probably kick the AdSense out and, rethink it and so on. And that's what we're starting to do right now. So we took one of these articles that was making, I think, like $12 a month, and we shipped it around like 2 weeks ago, and now it's making like $200 a week, So we can easily take some of these high traffic pieces and really like move them around, find relevant products to like even like swap the ads for products that are affiliate ads and stuff like that. So we also make money with affiliate marketing. We have like a lot like of recipes and things like that. So when there's like exotic ingredients that you don't necessarily find in your grocery store, then we're going to link to Amazon and all these things. We also make money with reviewing information products. And we are actually in the process of building our own products right now. We literally have one of our categories generating like probably half of our traffic and emails. And so we could build a very targeted product for this, and we'll be able to probably take the top spot in terms of information product in this market, actually, given the traffic we have. So we'll be able to recruit affiliates and so on after.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so now that we've given people the big picture, or the how well the site is doing, it's making $10,000 a month, getting 300,000 unique visitors per month, and doing all of these great things, and has a lot of potential, as you mentioned. We want to know how you got there. We want to know, people listening want to know how they can take their site and get it to where your site is. So, give us your sort of general model from building a site like this from the ground up. What type of either keyword research or content marketing, what are the steps to get there?
Okay. I mean, it's actually very simple, but I'm going to try to make it actionable as well.
Definitely.
the first thing that you want to do is you want to obviously once you've established your niche, etc., is you want to create stuff that nobody else has created, and you want to go a little bit crazy in one end. So, for example, like our recipes posts look very good, and people love sharing them. We try to spend time also creating graphics around them, so we can play around networks like Pinterest and so on. So you want to create, the type of content that's very shareable and that people will like. It doesn't have to be very monetized, because if you don't have the traffic in the first place, you won't necessarily be able to monetize. And we're not going to do a lot of link building and so on from there. So you're going to be building that content that's useful to people. And then you're just going to go on social networks. And I mentioned Pinterest, for example, which is absolutely massive for traffic. I know you guys have a Pinterest site that does decently as well. But if you take a niche like health, and we're able to make, I build very sketchy infographics. So I have a post where we had like 4 recipes, and I built a really terrible infographic on Pinterest, for Pinterest, just copy pasting the recipes, right? That infographic is at 40,000 repins at this point, and has generated, I think, over 100,000 visits since I released it. And it's generated a lot of links. People are actually picking it up as well. So you want to take time to not just create text and, just ordering for your keyword research, but you want to make sure that it's really well researched and also easy to consume. So that's why we're also very big on formatting. I'm sure when you browse the site, you see all these boxes for the recipes and stuff like that. And we're really big on formatting because it needs to be easy to consume as well. And then we create media that will go where our audience is. So for example, for Health Ambition, Pinterest and image-based sites are very big for health. But when I work on Authority Hacker, which we're going to talk about later, I know like online marketers are more like watching videos on YouTube of reviews of software and stuff like that, etc. So I'm focusing more on building videos. So you need to figure out where your audience is and create the media that goes on that platform. That's basically the principles. And also, 2 things. It's building relationships and building your community. So like we'd rather pick up an email than making an affiliate sell in terms of priority at this point. Because we know that the email can be marketed to over and over again. So we have different tactics, and I think we'll talk about it later, about collecting a lot of emails and also talking to people that comment on the site and just trying to like build that relationship if they have a website. Try to maybe promote them first, and then after that, have them promote you and do that kind of stuff. So actually, this podcast is an example of the kind of marketing we do, because Spencer, I had you on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, right?
Right. Yep.
And I promoted your stuff, and I was like, check out Spencer, etc. And we built that relationship. So, we talked about our sites and how they're doing just before the podcast and so on. And as a result, I'm actually getting promoted on your podcast today. So that's basically that kind of marketing we're doing,
Yep.
So, Gael, one of the things the lessons that I took away from Authority Hacker the first couple times I went there was your process of publishing and then promoting content, which seems to be your main way of spreading it around, because you're not very concerned about links. So can you walk us through that process of creating a post or a piece of content, publishing it, and then marketing it?
Yeah, okay. So the first thing I like to do before I create a piece of content is I want to make sure it's not going to fail. And I'm saying that it does fail sometimes. It's not a foolproof thing, but using tools like BuzzSumo, if you guys know about it, which is a tool that allows you to search for free any domain, and it tells you which pieces of content are the most popular on that domain, right? So you'll be able to put all your competitors' URLs and check out, what's working well for them. And then, you can try to find a piece that's working quite well for them, and that's not necessarily very, very good. It's okay, but maybe it's because they have an audience already, or because they got lucky or whatever. But then you try to find that piece, and you try to create something that's better than that. You take the same topic and you make it better. I'll talk about Authority Hacker because I create all the content there. So I'll try to share my analytics and show more stats, and maybe try to find strategies to expand on the strategy I'm describing and do that kind of stuff. And then after that, I'm going to go and find everywhere this piece has been shared and I'm just going to follow the trail and go and promote that there. So if it's been going well on a subreddit, I'm going to go and find a subreddit, and you can find the mentions, you put the title in quotes in Google, you put Reddit, that kind of stuff, and you're able to find where that piece went well. And you're able to go back on these communities and be like, hey, I have the same thing, but better, and it's more actionable, and it's got more images or whatever it is. And you, at the same time as you're promoting your content, you're actually getting links, right? So there are many forums and communities out there where, you post your link, it's actually a do follow link. So that helps my SEO at the same time. But I also know I'm going to get all the referral traffic that made that piece popular. So I share a lot of very actionable tactics. So even if you wanted to build links, and I said I'm not too concerned about it, but putting the URL in Ahrefs and seeing everyone that links to them, outreaching to them, do that kind of stuff is really the stuff I do. It's very manual, but it works very well.
Yeah, there's and that's a really interesting strategy to me, because it's very different than what we do and what a lot of our community does over at Niche Pursuits. What we are used to doing is doing a bunch of keyword research, publishing a bunch of content based on those keywords, building a bunch of links, and then waiting for Google to sort of pick them up. You're doing something very different, which is finding pieces of content that are already working, promoting them in the places that those pieces are already successful after you've improved on them, and then sort of letting the content succeed on its own, which is really cool and very, very white hat.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. So you probably want to dedicate a few hours per piece of content you produce to just promote it. Usually I take half a day or something. So that's quite a bit of time. But if you think of the amount of time that people spend building links and then disavoing them, it's also a lot of time. So I just like it better. And you build links the same, slowly but organically,
Right.
Yeah, so for Health Ambition, you didn't always start out that way, if I'm not mistaken. When you first built the site, you were just producing content on a regular basis and probably not promoting it as well as you are now. You've developed that strategy. Was there maybe an aha moment, or what made you decide that you needed to go in and really ramp up the promotion? What kind of started that wheel turning for you?
To be honest, what really felt good is that we could see, we used to be gray hatters, link builders, do all of that, private blog networks and all that stuff. And, for us, it was the only way to drive traffic and to drive it in the long term, because social is nice, but it spikes and it falls off, So what we realized is that as we were doing that kind of promotion and really focusing on the quality of the content, which is also very important, then we actually were seeing the number of links increase, and we were getting these little pingbacks in WordPress of people picking it up and posting it on their blog and mentioning it and so on. And what's even more important is that in the post-Penguin area, you don't need that many links to rank for most keywords. So if you just get picked up 2 or 3 times, it's very often enough to rank for quite a few keywords. And one thing that we saw as well is that the domain authority was so much more important post-Penguin than it was before Penguin. So before Penguin, it was really page level. You need to point a lot of links to that page and so on. And then post-Penguin, it feels and more the way it's going, that the history of the domain and the history of how well things have been doing for that domain plays a huge role in the way things rank. So now we even publish reviews for very competitive keywords and so on, and they rank above everyone that tries to spam for these keywords without building a single link to them.
Yeah, and we've seen the same thing. We actually have been sort of on this kick of buying sites, and we've run across several different sites that have done virtually no link building but are ranking for many keywords because they have lots of old content and the site is big and it's been around for a while. So I think we're seeing some of the same stuff.
Yeah, the domain authority is massive now, and that's why authority sites, I think, are growing pretty fast these days.
Now, you've also mentioned that so a lot of your content is content that you research, you see what's being shared and is popular on other sites, and then you try to make that better and put it on your site. but you're also still writing keyword-based articles as well. Right? You know, there are still keywords that you're trying to rank naturally for in Google. What would you say is your mix of doing that? You know, what do you recommend for people? How much time should they focus on writing keyword-based articles versus articles that are, you know, more sort of link generators, promotion type articles?
I mean, usually you can mix both, you know, it's like, as I said on our podcast, we have some link generator articles that were not built for SEO, generating like, you know, for a single page, that's like $300-400 a month because they get so much traffic, from just like AdSense and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, I would talk to the audience. What I would do now that we didn't do with Health Ambition, and we need to get better. I'm quite good on Authority Hacker doing that, but on Health Ambition, we need to implement it a little bit more. It's polling your audience and asking them what they want, actually, because as you build a bigger and bigger audience, they become the bulk of your traffic. Like SEO traffic almost matters a little bit less. It's just meant to build your audience. And so I'd say in terms of balancing between keyword oriented versus kind of like viral stuff, I would say about half actually. Like, you know, I'd say half of our content has some kind of commercial intent. We thought about also a product and, you know, monetizing and doing all of that. And the other half is basically our link building. So it's just like creating cool stuff, making sure it goes around, making sure it builds up the community, the likes on Facebook and the email list and all these things.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I know that Health Ambition is it's a large site. There's a lot of content there. For people listening in, can you give us a couple of the best performing examples on that site that are sort of the viral content or the content that's generated the most links?
Yeah, I mean, these are like, they seem very trivial in terms of topics, but we have one about the health benefits of drinking lemon water when you wake up. Which, you know, is very, very random. Very random. Gets a lot of traffic, has over 250 comments. Let me just check the shares. Yeah, we're at 2,071 Facebook likes, and like people just love reading about how to drink lemon water in the morning, apparently. But actually, the article has over 20 natural links, and we did absolutely nothing for that. I did just like one of these sketchy infographics on Pinterest, and that went pretty crazy as well. I think this has like 900 repins without trying more than pinning it 3 times, I think. So that's one piece, and that generates links.
And how did you come up with this topic?
Actually, the way we do that is we hire specialists as writers. So we don't hire, you know, the guys you find necessarily like on Odesk that write articles for $10, that kind of stuff. We really focus on hiring people that know about the topic. So if we want to be an authority, we need good stuff. Not stuff that's been rewritten from another site. And we need to come up with some kind of like unique angle and so on. So we actually hire people to write that know about the topic, and they actually help us come up with the ideas. So it's a mix of keyword research and also like what they suggest we should write about.
And where do you find these writers?
It's really it's a lot of trial and error. So I'd say for every writer that joined the team permanently, we fired 9 or 10. So that was it's the way it is. It's just and you need to, you know, you look at their credentials. Like most of these guys have their own blogs about health. You go on their Twitter account, it's about health. You go on their Google Plus, it's about health. You know, it's like these guys are living and breathing it. And they have a track record, so you can go through their portfolio and also the success it had with the community. And the good thing with hiring these kind of writers is they actually have a followership. So when you get started, they actually, you know, you can make a deal where they will tweet every article and maybe share it on their Facebook page and do that kind of stuff. And that's instant audience, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great idea, great tip for people looking for really great authors. I love that example of the lemon water. I'm hoping for one more. Can you give us another example of one of your best pieces of content there?
Here's one that works really well and sounds pretty funny as well. So Scarlett Johansson has been promoting washing your face with apple cider vinegar. So, you know, it's one of these things that every girl knows about and we have no idea. But
that's right.
this is quite popular. So the article has like 169 comments. Got shared thousands of times. Everything you can think of, and that article. We actually sell apple cider vinegar from Amazon on it, and people buy it, which is pretty funny.
That's awesome.
But it's okay because they buy other things as well, and we get commissions for that. So like we had people buy apple cider vinegar and a TV, so it's like, so it's as long as you get your cookie on Amazon, you actually make some money.
Yep.
But yeah, so like one of these articles, they're more like link pages. They're not necessarily like huge money generators. They generate like couple $100 per month on AdSense, these articles, for a single page. So it's not bad. It's definitely good return on investment. But yeah, these are the kind of like, articles that are easily shareable around, and you can engage, like, you can post that on Reddit and people are not going to tell you you're a spammer trying to make money off their traffic,
Mm-hmm.
And that gets you that community, like, you have that. Then I have these email capture tactics like opt-in pop-ups or extra downloadable stuff and so on. And that gets a lot of emails from social. And then you can email them your more commercial things after.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks for sharing those couple of examples. I love it. So, but let's dive into your email building list tactics now, because you're doing really, really well. I think you said 6,000 emails per month that you're adding now to your list, and you have something like 25 or 30,000 currently on your list. How are you doing that? What's working really well for you? You mentioned pop-ups. What's sort of the free offer that you're giving people, or give us your secrets. Let us know how you're building that list.
Okay, cool. Okay, the first thing to do is, like, most people just put an opt-in thing on their sidebar, and that's about it. Nobody fills these forms. They're just ignored, and people read the content. That makes sense. The second thing is people make one offer for their whole site. So it's like, get this across the whole site. So people would land on our site, they would read about getting rid of cellulite, and we're like, hey, download this free recipe book. And they're like, yeah, I came for cellulite. So they don't convert, So there's the first thing I would say is make like one giveaway per category and make it more specific. So for example, if it was niche pursuits, like imagine that you guys have the link building section and the keyword research section. Right. Then in the keyword research section, you could offer, a list of like popular niches where you can, monetize pretty easily, and a list of keywords associated to that. And in the link building section, you could be like how to start your own blog network or whatever, or like how to promote to get white hat links or whatever you want.
Right.
And because it's so much more relevant, then people are going to like, that tripled my opt-in rate right away. So I went from like 1 to 3% doing that.
Nice.
Great.
And so the second thing is putting the offer in the right place. So opt-in pop-ups are working extremely well. I know a lot of people hate them, but they work really well. The second thing that works extremely well, and I'm more experiencing with that on Authority Hacker, although we built a list on Health Ambition of, I think, like 12,000 people with that tactic as well. And it's what's called content upgrades, where you give the whole blog post, but you create an extra piece of content that it can be small. It's usually a one-pager that people can download if they give their email. So, for example, like in the we have a huge juicing section, and so in the juicing section we made a 12-page ebook that basically summarizes all the juicing recipes we have on the site in a nice format. And when people are done reading any juicing recipe post, they get this offer at the end. There's a big box or a big button that says, click here to download the ebook. And when they click, there's one of these lead boxes from lead pages that pops up and asks for their email and name to get the ebook. And people put it, and they just get redirected to the download page. And that gets us so many email. And the third thing I do, and I think I'm the only one doing that actually, and that's pushing it to the nth level, and that costs a little bit of money. I use Facebook retargeting. So if you go on some of our sites or some sections of our site, we actually put the Facebook retargeting code inside the post, and we're going to follow you for 7 days with the offer if you didn't download it. So, and that still, like, the emails don't cost very much money. I think emails, depending on what we run, are between 0.5 and $0.9 double opt-in. So people not only gave their email, but they went back in their mailbox, clicked on the link, and then confirmed their email. So if you have an autoresponder that converts well or something, that's a great way to scale it up, you know?
Yeah, no, great tips there. Absolutely. Building an email list is huge. There's just so much that you can do once you have an audience in place. Like you're doing, you can create your own product, sell that to your list. So some great tips for people there. Before we move on, Perrin, do you have any additional questions specifically on either his content marketing strategies or building an email list?
Not on those. I think maybe we'll take just one more step back from that because I think it's important for our audience specifically. So, Gael, when you and I were talking a couple of days ago just on Skype to kind of get to know each other and swap some strategies, you said that you loved our podcast and you love Niche Pursuits, but we are way too focused on building links and that we shouldn't be worrying about it. So for the benefit of our audience, can you tell us why that's your philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, I listened to a podcast like when you guys release it, and it's a lot about you guys are always trying to figure out how to build the next link. Whereas the point of view that we're trying to take now is what causes people to link to you, and try to emulate that. So I'm not saying that links are not important. I'm saying that building links is not what you should do. The people that like your content should be building your links for you. So how do we make this happen? And there's several ways this happen. The first thing you need to get links is to get really good stuff on your site. The stuff that gets the most links, I think like Red Bull Stratos is the thing that gets the most links on the internet now, because they sent a man jumping from space, and that was great content.
Yeah.
And so, emulate that on your level. Obviously, I'm not going to send someone to space, but we can create something that just goes above and beyond in giving information and being transparent and maybe having all the information in one place when it comes to health, because, most sites just give bribes and don't necessarily tell you, here's the situation, here's option A, here's option B, here's what you need to consider. Now, based on what you want, here's what you should do. And that's why we write stuff that's minimum 1,500 words, because we take the time to go over all these little details and so on. So the first thing is like getting good stuff to promote. And then the second thing is getting eyeballs that can link to you on that content. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do with the content promotion. So I was saying you reverse engineer the pieces that work, that did more or less the same. You do a little bit of outreach as well. You talk to these people, but like you build that relationship. You're not just outreaching and say, hey, give me a link, give me a link, give me a link, because that's what most people do when they think they're doing white hat outreaching, and that doesn't work that way. The way it works is you need to give something to people for them to help you back. That's usually how it works. And so when you build your community, when you have thousands of fans on Facebook and thousands of followers, and you have a huge email list or something, one very easy thing to do is adding one of their blog posts in your next email blast. And you can tag it in Google Analytics to say, hey, we're the guys from Health Ambition. Come and say hi, because you can tag campaigns in that, right? So when they go in the analytics and they check where it came from, and they check the campaigns, they will actually see that message. And nobody will know. So you have ways to kind of communicate and give stuff to people. And after you did that, or like you share, and you can do that on a lower level, like sharing their content on your Facebook page, or, giving them a link and then telling them you gave them a link. Do very basic things that help people. And then you can ask them for something. That's just a reciprocation rule where when you give something, people feel like they have to give you something back, that's basically how it works, So then people give you links. So that's what I was talking about when I was like, you guys are too focused on building links, not links in general. You want to emulate the conditions that make people link to you rather than build links yourself.
Yeah, I think that's great stuff. And I think it's a very important way to point out how our strategy has been evolving as we get more and more into building authority sites instead of small sites. So I think that was very well said. And I think that's probably the direction that we've been moving personally with our own sites. So it's important.
Yeah, I mean, you make friends as well. You get a lot more opportunities. I just want to add, for example, I did a podcast like 2 weeks ago with a social media expert in Singapore. And so, yeah, I can get a link from his site, but we're probably going to also maybe like launch a product together, a training product in Singapore together or something like that. And that could result in like thousands of dollars from just having him on the podcast and building that relationship. So, you get way more than links when you do that.
Yeah, great tips. Thanks for sharing those. I actually just learned something there as far as the Google Analytics tagging.
Yeah.
Those memos there. I was not aware of that. That's a very cool strategy. I like that. So thanks for sharing that. Let's go ahead and move on to what you're doing over at Authority Hacker. So obviously you've created authorityhacker.com, where you now have a podcast, you're blogging, and you're doing quite a bit, sharing things that you've learned through your journey here as an entrepreneur, obviously as an online entrepreneur. So can you tell us a little bit about Authority Hacker and how are things going there for you?
Yeah, okay. So the reason I started Authority Hacker was not to create yet another SEO blog, because I know there's enough in the world. But the thing is, the way it works in this industry is that on one hand, you have the white hat guys that usually share very fluffy content. So they'll be like, oh, just produce great content and everything's going to be okay and blah, 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 and they will come. Basically what Matt Cutts says on his videos. Except when you watch it, you don't necessarily know what to do next. You're kind of like, yeah, I like the idea, but how do I make it happen? And on the other side, you have people that are doing more gray hat, black hat, etc., and they will share all the software they use and all the tools and how to do it step by step, etc., which is also great. So like I'm thinking of guys like Matthew Woodward and stuff like that. And there was nobody in the middle sharing actionable stuff that's also white hat. Like really how to do it step by step, what are their results, sharing analytics, sharing all of that. And that's why I wanted to create Authority Hacker, because I didn't feel like there was something that was really hands-on and very white hat at the same time, not breaking any terms of service. So yeah, I just wanted to start that site. And so far it's going pretty well, actually. We're closing on 1,000 email subscribers in 3 months that I've started that site or something. The community has been really responsive. So, and actually I'm running a lot of experiments on that site as well. So, in terms of email strategies, that site now converts 10% of all its visitors into emails. So that's pretty cool, actually.
Definitely.
And also one thing I did is I created, a free, Authority SEO course. I think, Perrin, you went through it.
Yeah, I did.
And basically it's what I just said. It's all actionable steps. Like first step, like, how to do the keyword research, how to set up your site on a proper technical level, because as I said, it's very annoying when you don't have the right tech. Then there's also, how to optimize WordPress. And you just see inside my sites. And then I also have a video where I show how I drive 1,000 visits in 27 minutes of promotion to one of my blog posts on Health Ambition. So there's a few cool things like that. If you want to check it out, it's authorityhacker.com/free-course. And that's basically what it is. And there's a podcast every week as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is a good place to plug it. And you guys who know me know that I don't do this very often. But especially when you are in the position that Spencer and I are in, where we have so many contacts and, Niche Pursuits has a fairly big audience, we see so many SEO blogs. There are honestly just dozens and dozens and dozens, if not hundreds out there. You really have to be felicitous with which ones you choose to follow. And Authority Hacker is relatively new. And I can honestly say every time I've been there, I've learned something new, and we've picked up so many tactics that we have implemented right away or are trying to learn that it's just like an incredible value, especially because it's so hands-on and there are so many videos where you are just in there actually working, not explaining stuff, but actually doing it. And it's absolutely fantastic. So I really, really encourage people to go there, not because I'm plugging Gael, because I've known you for a week and a half, but because I think it'll be a fantastic resource for our audience. So go over there and check it out.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. No, like Perrin said, got some great resources over there at authorityhacker.com. And before we wrap up the podcast here, do you have any last sort of parting words of wisdom, either just general business advice or specific advice that we didn't cover here on the podcast already?
Okay, so I think the main reason people fail with doing legit promotion and white hat is they don't necessarily have the skill set yet. And, there's how to do it, and there's a little bit of feeling and learning as you do it. Mm-hmm. And so people get impatient. And, they build that, nice site for 6 months and do everything right. And, after 6 months, as I said, we had 200 visits a day, so it wasn't much at all.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I can't take it anymore. I can't wait for it. Just blasting my links to it. And that's it. They just destroyed the website. So be patient. When you want to start a long-term project, give it a year at least to figure out where it's at. It takes a long time, and it's not linear. So it's very slow at the beginning, and then it's kind of a hockey stick growth when it takes off. So it's pretty nice.
Right.
Yeah, great advice there. No, thanks for sharing that. That's something that Perrin and I can keep in mind as well. We have a larger site that we're building, a big project that we know is long-term. So that's sort of the target that we also put out there is we don't expect much to happen before the year mark. We hope that things happen, but really we're going to give it a year of hard, dedicated work to see what happens. So great advice there, I think, as well. So is there any other place that you'd like to send people other than authorityhacker.com where people can follow along with what you're doing?
Yeah, okay. So there's one more project we're running right now, and it's called copycog.com. And it's basically a platform that will allow you to recruit cool writers. So we're going to pre-screen all the writers for you. So think of Text Broker, where we actually talk to them and we, move, like we don't accept, I'd say 90% of people in the marketplace. So we really try to get the best writers at the best price in there. And at the same time, we built a workflow so you can have a real editorial. So you can actually optimize for all your SEO keywords. You can set your deadlines, have your editorial calendar, go back and forth with them and push it back to production when it's not good enough. And basically the platform that we dreamed of when we started Help Ambition to create the content that we need to do these authority sites. So that's basically what we're building on copycog.com. There's a free trial if the people want to try it out. And that's basically it.
Good. So people can go over to copycog.com if they want to check that out. But overall, Gael, we appreciate you coming on the Niche Pursuits podcast. You've given Perrin and I a lot of actionable tips, and certainly people listening in. So we just appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll see you.